Don't you just love it when a draft pick works out? Well, for Pat Riley and the Miami Heat in 2003, that's exactly what happened as Dwayne Wade out of Marquette quickly established himself as a long-term option at shooting guard, an athlete, a playmaker, a shot maker, as well as someone with a flair for the dramatic. And that would be foreshadowing many great moments that he would have in a Heat uniform. He also developed the reputation of living at the free throw line very early on. And that Miami Heat team, it was okay. There were professionals surrounding Wade like Eddie Jones as well as Caron Butler and Lamar Odom before he became a Kardashian, so he was pretty damn good, as well as Udonis Haslem. Miami was building a pretty good foundation, but the real star of the team was point guard Bimbo Coles. Alright, that's a lie, but his first name was Bimbo, so I have to talk about him. And this Heat team, in just Wade's first season, managed to win 42 games and get to the second round of the postseason before going down to Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers in 6 games. But even with this, you could say Miami was growing something special, but the evil genius of Pat Riley said, no, I'm not content with that. And he got his opportunity to show that when Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant felt that it was more important to dislike each other rather than win championships, because after winning 3 titles in a row and seemingly having a chokehold on the NBA for the next decade, look what happens here. Kobe Bryant looks off Shaquille O'Neal in the finals against the Pistons, hoists up his own shot, and the rest of the series would follow suit as Detroit, led by all-around point guard Chauncey Billups and mid-range extraordinaire Rip Hamilton and defensive guru Tayshaun Prince and Rasheed Wallace, who needs no introduction, as well as the afro of Ben Wallace, the Lakers had some disappointments. Now, of course, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, probably 2 of the 3 best players in the league, because we have to respect Tim Duncan, they balled out in the series. But no matter how talented you are, if you hate each other, you hate each other. And this image pretty much seals up the end of the Kobe-Shaq dynasty. And let's show some respect to the Pistons as well. And so, only 3 days after their finals loss, Shaquille O'Neal said, "Get me the hell up out of here, because I do not want to deal with Kobe Bryant anymore." Now, remember how I mentioned Mr. Pat Riley? Look at that ring on his finger. You know how you get rings when you say, we'll give you guys Caron Butler, Lamar Odom, and a first-round pick, and why don't you just throw Shaq in a Miami Heat jersey? And that's exactly what happened. One of the best big men to have graced the league in a long time continued his dominance with the Miami Heat. But even more miraculously was the fact that Dwayne Wade, in only his second season, ascended to becoming one of the best players in the league. And it only took Wade and Shaq 2 seasons to reach the NBA Finals, where Dwayne Wade put on potentially the best performance in the history of the NBA Finals, with all respect to Michael Jordan, as the guy kind of one-manned against the Dallas Mavericks. And you see the result here. But then Miami's fortunes really took a downward spiral as the next season Dwayne Wade and Shaq would miss about half the season, and Wade, the injuries that would plague him later on, started to creep up. And after some team disappointment, Shaquille O'Neal was traded to the Phoenix Suns, and Miami for the next few seasons just kind of floated around. I mean, they drafted Michael Beasley thinking he could be the long-term answer, and it just wasn't meant to be. And as a result, Dwayne Wade's prime seasons were being somewhat wasted with mediocre talent around him. But luckily for Wade, there was another star player who had a bunch of mediocre talent around him, Mr. LeBron James, who, after losing to the Celtics one too many times because it was just impossible for him to keep on carrying that team around him, which ironically had Shaquille O'Neal, you know what happened, okay? LeBron James and Chris Bosh go to join the Miami Heat. They become the most hated trio in the history of sports, at least that I can think of. Skip Bayless becomes the Godfather, and they win a couple of championships in the process. But even amongst all that winning, it was obvious that Dwayne Wade's lower body was not cooperating, is one way to put it. And after a lopsided defeat to the San Antonio Spurs, Mr. LeBron James decided it was better for him to return to Cleveland, and so Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, two very good players, they knew they had their work cut out for them, and with guys like Mario Chalmers at point guard and LeBron's quote-unquote replacement Luol Deng, they were respectable, but it was clear they were not a contender anymore. But Wade was still able to contribute pretty nicely even with his injuries. But a real surprise came midway through as Hassan Whiteside, out of nowhere, becomes one of the best run, jump, and dunk centers in the league to go along with Wade and Bosh. Seemed like something was brewing, but unfortunately, Mario Chalmers at point guard, he just didn't perform very well. Miami needed an improvement, and luckily for them, the Phoenix Suns had the brain fart of the century when they decided to put Goran Dragic, Isaiah Thomas, and Eric Bledsoe all on the same roster. And you know what happened? Goran Dragic did not have the ball in his hand for a lot of the time, and he wasn't happy with it. And so as a result, the guy demanded a trade, and 2 first-round picks later, he found himself in a Miami Heat jersey. With the improvements at point guard and center, Miami began creeping up the power rankings in the NBA, but unfortunately, a health scare with Chris Bosh resulted in his season ending. They just couldn't recover from that. Miami Heat fans would have to wait a full season to see this roster really in action, but the excitement was real because Dragic's ability to attack and make plays for others, and the fact that Whiteside would soon become one of the best rim protectors in the league, and Chris Bosh's all-around game being a two-way power forward, as well as Dwayne Wade still being able to be effective even with his loss of athleticism. It was great, and the excitement was only amplified when they hit a home run in the draft by selecting Justice Winslow out of Duke, who, his athleticism and defense alone showed the Heat he was going to be a long-term option at that small forward spot. And the Heat, they were a good team. They finished around the 4th seed in the East, which was fine, but at the same time, they really couldn't separate themselves from the rest of the conference, and it just depended on what night of the week you saw them to think how good they were. But even with that, they found themselves at home in the first round of the playoffs against the Atlanta Hawks. Miami was able to come out successful in that one. The ball movement, everyone was able to contribute on the team, and they won that series in 6 games. However, in the next round against the Cleveland Cavaliers, while Miami was able to put up a fight at least, it was obvious who the cream of the crop in the conference was as LeBron James' old team. They beat the Heat in only 5 games. And it was clear to Miami that while the roster they had was good, they just weren't at that level. And they had to find some sort of way to get there. And the next season they began with starting Winslow because it was obvious he was a better player than Luol Deng at this point. But also his scoring began to catch up with his athleticism, and it really seemed like he had the potential to potentially be a two-way star in the NBA. However, with all this, Miami, when it came to facing top-tier teams, just couldn't compete. They needed something. Here's the part where I get my views. The basketball gods shined upon him as there was something going on in Sacramento as Demarcus Cousins began to get just a little fed up with all the inconsistencies and the uncertainties surrounding the Kings organization. Now, Demarcus himself has become one of the best players in the league, probably the best center, and depending on who you're talking to, potentially a top 5 player. And his abilities to dominate physically in the paint, but also take his talent out to the three-point line as well. He's truly a special player, but unfortunately, the uncertainty in the front office translated onto the floor, whether it be different head coaches, different point guards, and the talent around Demarcus was never able to be enough to where he could lead them to the postseason. And so at a certain point, Boogie was just like, y'all gotta get me out of here. I want to trade. I'm tired of all this. Have I spun this story before? Of course I have. Don't worry about it. And so this is a similar situation to when Pat Riley would trade for Shaquille O'Neal. Not the same player, although Boogie was the closest thing to a modern-day Shaq. So Pat Riley said to the Kings, what if I give you all Justice Winslow, Hassan Whiteside, and a first-round pick for Demarcus Cousins? Because like I mentioned, acquiring Shaq led them to an NBA championship. It's the type of move you just sometimes have to do. And of course it happened because the guy's on the frickin' thumbnail, for Christ's sake. And in Boogie's very first practice with Miami, he made his impact known, and this seemed like the type of guy who could really take Miami to that next level. But they could also take him to the next level because, of course, Boogie had questions of his character and if he was mentally stable. Well, being in this close-knit veteran locker room, it might have been exactly what Demarcus needed in his first game against the Utah Jazz, where the crowd was actually kinda not there. Hey, blame 2K, don't blame me. If it was up to me, the entire place would be sold out, and Demarcus had his first opportunity with the Heat, and of course the very first play is a post-up to Chris Bosh, which doesn't go in. You'd figure to set the mood correctly, I would just give the ball to Demarcus every single time down, and then Gordon Hayward hits a 3. Are we gonna lose our first game with Demarcus Cousins? What kind of rebuild would that be? That'd be terrible. Boogie, get in the pick and roll, please. Because if you saw the Celtics series, you know the guy's an automatic 2 points when he runs a screen. But no, once again, Chris Bosh... Should I have just put Chris Bosh on the thumbnail and not even mention that Demarcus was in the thing? Because I haven't even used the guy up to this point. Don't worry, give it some time. Boogie will have his moment. Right there with a block shot. You know, Demarcus, when he's on defensively in Sacramento, he's one of the best defenders in the league, but there's questions, of course, about his effort at times. With Miami, with this group of guys, you got to imagine he's locked into play at all times, and oh my God, who was that? Was that Derek Favors? Someone just got their life destroyed by Demarcus Cousins on that dunk. That's the type of thing that Boogie can provide for the Heat. That's the type of thing sometimes you just got to trade for. Chris Bosh with the defense there, so underappreciated at all times, Mr. Bosh. I love Chris Bosh. I hope you do too. And now let's get Boogie in the post because this is what everybody really wants to see. Him working on Rudy Gobert. How's this going to work? Get to the free throw line? Alright. Isn't that funny? You trade for a star center and then you go up against potentially the best defensive center in the league in Rudy Gobert in your first game. But Demarcus Cousins being Demarcus Cousins, he's going to be able to back it up. Ooh, why did I show D-Wade getting blocked? You know, I just set the guy up as being awesome for the first 8 minutes of the video, and then I show him getting blocked. There we go. Do your thing, Wade. Very nice. And see, that play right there, that pass from Demarcus kind of showed him, well, this is different than Sacramento. Okay, I got professionals around me who just know what they're doing a bit more. And now another player who I think is underappreciated a little bit, Alec Burks gets to the free throw line. Then he misses a free throw, so much for being underappreciated. And so, I think this is about the perfect time we can get a dagger on these guys. And Luol Deng takes... Do I even give the ball to Demarcus? Well, don't worry. He's going to get the ball here. We're up 7 points, not too much time left in the fourth. Show him that post game. There you go. That's the type of game that Miami was missing. Hassan Whiteside's shown signs of that, but potentially the best post-up player in the league. Potentially. He's not the best, but he's one of them. And so was that Rodney Hood? Shout out to Rodney Hood for hitting that three-pointer. Miami in their first game with Boogie, it was a success. And the signs of what was to come with him, it was already there. And the rest of the NBA definitely needed to take notice. Look how happy Boogie was in his first game. He was like, oh my God, none of us are yelling at each other. We just want to win a basketball game. And so, the Eastern Conference, and really the NBA, they were kind of at Miami and Boogie's mercy for the second half of the season. Because the guy, I mean, not only him, the teammates around him, they were all energized as well. And no matter who was up against him, no matter what center it was in the league, he didn't have a chance. And so going into the postseason, Miami were kind of viewed as the favorites in the East, to be honest, with the respect to Cleveland. Finding themselves at home once again. There's the crowd. Okay, there they are this time. They got the Demarcus pictures, which, you know, shout out to 2K for at least having that. And the Raptors had no chance in the first round against Miami. They couldn't stop D-Wade or Chris Bosh. And if you can't stop them, how the hell are you going to deal with Demarcus Cousins too? I mean, Luis Scola's on him come on. Look at Boogie. Just so happy. Second round, going up against the Chicago Bulls. The Derrick Rose-less Chicago Bulls. I don't know what happened to him. Look, Chicago may have been a little bit better than Toronto, but Miami's reign through the NBA was not going to be stopped by basically just Jimmy Butler. I mean, they had Al Jefferson defending Cousins. Like, really? However, the Eastern Conference was a bit more interesting, as it was time for LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because who the hell else was I going to face in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2K? Unless I fast forward like 10 seasons. This is why Miami made the move for Boogie. Because you got to go up against the Cavaliers. You got to go through these guys if you want that championship. And in Game 1 of the series, it was pretty much the preview for how the entire series would go. Why did I make that pass? You never make the long pass to the corner in 2K, especially when it's Iman Shumpert. Shout out to Big Daddy Kane, because I have to make that reference every single time Shumpert appears in one of my videos. You just don't make that pass. And now, we're going to try to double team Kevin Love, because depending on what day of the week it is, the guy's mentally fragile. And Mozgov makes the best pass of his career, as I kind of screw up defensively. You can never double team the CPU too much because, I mean, they're all basically just Steve Nash, let's be honest here. Thankfully, Chris Bosh's mid-range shot kind of bounces in there. I'm making sure to show Chris Bosh as much love as I can in this video because sometimes I think the guy gets a little bit underrated, or a lot underrated if you will. Run the floor, Boogie. Oof. Kyrie Irving got all of that one. Demarcus with 22 and over 10 rebounds. Like, the trade definitely paid off for him. Kevin Love looking very athletic on that. But luckily, I had to reverse cheese the CPU as the ball just went right back into Boogie's hands. They try to double team. Bosh open. That doesn't drop. But Chris Bosh, listen, Chris Bosh is actually the perfect power forward to go next to Demarcus. And that type of shot would usually drop for him. Shumpert with the 3. We're down 2 points. And the last thing I'm trying to do is lose in a game that I actually show in a rebuild. So Boogie, could you please just get a 3-point play on 2 big men? Well, he doesn't get a 3-point play, but he does go to the free throw line, and it's tied at 116. Holy crap, can either one of us play any defense? Well, I'm going to assume not. Well, maybe so. So that was just weird. Kyrie Irving was open in a game where everyone's making a shot, and he misses. But then Mozgov with the rebound. Kevin Love got stuck on the post with Boogie. You got to imagine that Kevin Love's thinking to himself, there's no way that I'm not going to stop this guy from scoring, right? Now, granted, I looked kind of like an idiot trying to score the ball there. I did like some weird half spin. I did a pump fake. I had to pass the ball out. But eventually, Boogie scored, okay? Don't blame Demarcus for me not knowing how to score on the post. And Mozgov holding on to the ball for quite a bit of time. LeBron James taking his patented three-pointer where he's about 5 feet from behind the three-point line. And then D Wade with a long 2. Very nice. 2-point game. Neither one of us can still miss. And depending on how LeBron James walks the ball up court, you can tell if he's like, I'm going to score this thing. And he's definitely trying to score it or do something. And he just kind of threw the ball to somebody in a Heat jersey. I'll take it. Luol Deng with his first fast break bucket in 5 seasons. Shout out to him. 4-point lead with about 30 seconds left. Bosh with that three-pointer. Or Kevin Love, excuse me. Bosh was playing defense. They got to foul us. And are you telling me the Miami Heat are going to go up 1-0 in this series against the Cleveland Cavaliers? Well, let's hold on. We've seen a LeBron James-led team go on some crazy comebacks with a minute left. But LeBron sets a screen, which must mean Tyronn Lue's coaching because he would never set a screen for David Blatt, let's be honest. Demarcus, I need you to go to the free throw line. And I'm going to need you to hit both of these. That's an excellent release, so that's going to drop. And we would defeat Cleveland 142-138, my goodness, to take a 1-0 series lead. And the rest of the series would follow suit. And because we're already 20 minutes into this goddamn thing, Game 6 would go to us, and the Eastern Conference Championship would go to us as well. Because did you really think we weren't going to win the finals here? Come on. And so as Boogie hoists that trophy up, he's like, this is pretty damn cool. However, on the other side of things, the Golden State Warriors and the Oklahoma City Thunder, they had themselves quite a Western Conference Finals, and it was back and forth all the way. We saw the hobo of Steven Adams scoring that one. Steph Curry finally doesn't shoot a scoop layup. He actually draws some contact in 2K, which never happens. And Curry, he definitely gave Oklahoma City all they could handle. However, it was just one more three-pointer by Kevin Durant that really sealed the thing. And so we find ourselves in a Game 7 in Oklahoma City outside of just after a timeout. Here we are. We got to go against Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, and those two in and of themselves are a cheat code, so why is Cameron Payne the one dribbling the ball right now? I realize that Scott Brooks isn't there anymore, but Billy Donovan, what you doing? Now, Enes Kanter may have made that shot, and shout out to him, but if y'all are going to keep running that play, I'm pretty confident we're going to win this game. And I'm also confident that y'all can't stop Demarcus, okay? Kanter is probably the worst defensive big man in the league, going up against, the best offensive big in the league? D-Wade, I'm going to need you to do something here. And, my goodness, I'm making Dwayne Wade look so bad in this. I made the guy, look so good in the intro, and then once the gameplay has started, besides a long two-pointer he hit, he's not making anything. I'm sorry, D-Wade, I love you. You're a good dude. And then look at this god-tier play that I drew up that I didn't actually draw up to get DeMarcus Cousins open. That was pretty good. Get Boogie cut into the basket. Once again, Russell Westbrook is not dribbling the basketball. Listen, I don't know, okay? I can only say they're doing it wrong. I can't make them play correctly. I mean, Serge Ibaka, Durant was running around a screen there. Listen, Billy Donovan, I don't want to tell you how to coach, but what the hell are you doing? Because you can see what I'm doing. I'm getting the ball to my best player, DeMarcus. Giving us a 4-point lead now. Y'all really should have had Steven Adams in the game because Kanter's not going to stop him. Dwayne Wade, once again, not looking good. This wasn't planned. It's just the way the footage happens sometimes. I'm sorry, Dwayne Wade. You're really a good dude. KD passes it off to Ibaka. Well, maybe Durant just doesn't want to shoot the thing. But even then, you have to imagine with how heartless Westbrook is, he'd be like, just give me the damn ball. I don't know. You'd think the guy who says F that to his coach calling a play in the huddle would demand the ball in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I don't know. Dwayne Wade finally gets his revenge on me, I guess, even though I'm the one controlling him. 6-point lead, 2 minutes left. Cameron Payne still trying to be Magic Johnson with the ball in his hand. Durant's finally woken up, and he's trying to score a little bit. Not the greatest shot in the world. Luol Deng with some defense. Hey, Luol can still play D, alright? He's still an opportunistic offensive player. I missed that with Boogie, but Chris Bosh, Mr. Reliable, which is ironic because we're facing Kevin Durant. He gets that one. Now we got an 8-point lead on him. And we got Cameron Payne dribbling the ball. And then we have Andre Robertson shooting a 3. OKC, what the hell, dude? You got 2 of the 5 best players in the league, and I'm dealing with these guys shooting the ball? Well, okay. I guess I gotta show y'all the error of your ways once again. Well, Westbrook's trying to steal the ball from Dwayne Wade, and he was almost successful, but then Ibaka, he jumped, Bosh open. 10-point lead now, 1.5 minutes left. I hope Westbrook finally realizes what's going on. Oh, there you go. Okay, you finally ran the best play you have, which is just give the ball to either Westbrook or Durant and then let the other guy do something. But unfortunately, y'all waited a bit too long to do it. DeMarcus gets blocked, which is kind of awkward, but Chris Bosh, once again, that offensive rebound. And Chris Bosh, so good, man. So good. Maybe I'll put him on the thumbnail rather than Dwayne Wade next to DeMarcus. Whatever gets me more views, right? Ibaka, he misses that 3. And so, this rebuild once again ends with me winning an NBA championship because when you put rebuild in the title, you kind of know what's coming. But even then, we can be happy. Shout out to Pat Riley. Shout out to Miami Heat fans. Shout out to non-Miami Heat fans. Shout out to Luol Deng, who got benched for Justice Winslow. And as we see the trophy being handed out, it's actually pretty cool that 2K has this because for a while, it was like they didn't do anything. It was like you'd win the championship and it's like, okay, it's done. Keep doing your thing. DeMarcus with the Finals MVP, although you'd think it was Chris Bosh based on the footage you saw. Luol Deng, I mean, hey, good 3-point shooter, good defender, professional. D-Wade, so good to see him win another championship. He's moving his mouth really weirdly, and I'm pretty sure he's not actually saying anything, but still good to see. If you forgot Goran Dragic was here he is. And then Mr. Reliable once again, Chris Bosch, who, when you Google image the guy, every picture ends up being a velociraptor. And then finally Boogie, who can say, thank you for getting me the hell up out of Sacramento when wearing this red, white, and black. So yeah, I've been talking for 25 minutes. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all because now I'm going to go make the thumbnail. So, have a good one. I'm out, and I don't know.